Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we're going to be taking a look at Die Cutting Essentials issue 81. So the die set that we've got with this is called Autumn Wishes. So we've got 10 dies in here. So we've got 2 corner pieces, we've got 2 sentiments, we've got Blessed and Thankful, and we've got a pumpkin and then just an acorn, a couple of other bits and pieces. We've got a leaf and then a little bit more foliage at the top there. So of course autumn themed here, and we do have 8 papers that you can download. So you've got some really beautiful, just sort of more plainer kind of background, and then you've got a couple in there which you've got kind of the pumpkins, and the imagery is more specific to what you've got in the die set here. For today's video, and I did mention this in a previous video, that I was going to try and use these downloadable papers a little more, but instead of printing everything out, I'm literally just going to go through and pick out the papers that I want to use on my project. So I picked out 2 of these. So we've got a gingham here in this really beautiful kind of yellow shade, absolutely love that, and we've got a more subtle kind of chevron pattern there which I really love as well. So those papers can be downloaded from the Craft World website, and it does tell you where you can go actually in the magazine itself. So that's a quick look at the free gift. So let's take a look in the magazine as we do for that inspiration. So the first one we've got, this is called Autumn Delights. Let me just lift this up a little bit out of that light. So again, you've got down the bottom, just here it tells you where you can go to download those papers, but we've got, you know, using these in really different ways. You've got using the wreaths here, we've got turning those pumpkin dies actually into sort of Halloween pumpkins. That's really cool. We've got the sentiment Happy Halloween, so using a little bit of your other stash to sort of really see how far you can stretch that. We've got this really cool pumpkin here that looks like that's been made just with maybe an oval die to create that, and that's pretty cool. But we've got different kinds of backgrounds, we've got different colours in here. This, again, this wreath that's really built up with all those elements, I think are beautiful. And then another idea, so this is embossed effects. So the embossed technique where you can use then those dies and just emboss. I really love this one here where they've got that thankful, blessed repeated over and over again. And I'm sure in the instructions they tell you just how easy it is to create that embossed look using those dies. And then of course you don't have to just use it with these dies, you can use that technique with any of your own dies. So let's take a look at what comes included in next month's issue of Die Cutting Essentials. So this is going to be issue 82. This goes on sale the 7th of October. So here we have Retro Santa Layering Die. So it looks like we've got Santa's face here. So it'll be really interesting to see how big that's going to be. And then you do have a Believe die in there as well. Then we've also got 8 papers and sentiments to download. So again, probably take a look at printing a few of those out just to help create our cards. But I think the main element, of course, then is this retro layering Santa. So that's pretty cool because you've got the actual face itself, sort of the outline of the entire image. Then you've got the face, the nose, the mouth. You've got the eyebrows, the mustache there, we've got the hat, and of course that beard. And then you can add just that little sort of holly sprig in there as well. So that's going to be really fun to use. And again, we've got some papers. It looks like the sentiments. We've got some postcards, some stamps and things in there. Sorry, some postage stamps, not actual stamps. But yeah, so that's really, really going to be interesting, and we can take a look at using that when that comes through. But for now, let's get into creating our card with our Autumn Wishes die set. So like I showed you, I've already printed out 2 of these. This is just onto some smooth, super smooth paper. It's come out really nicely. I have picked out a couple of Distress Oxide ink colours as well, just because I think I might do a little bit of ink blending. So for the greens, we've got Peeled Paint and Rustic Wilderness. We have got Rusty Hinge, Wild Honey and Spiced Marmalade as well. So let's get creating today's card. So to begin with, I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending. So I've got just some scraps of smooth white card. And what I'm going to do is take my sort of orange colour scheme. And I think I'm going to do some ink blending to then die cut our corner pieces from. And I want to do this in kind of that orange where we're going to have that Rusty Hinge kind of at the bottom to show kind of the colours changing a little bit. That's what we're going to kind of go for here. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of Spiced Marmalade. And let's just get a nice layer of ink on here. Then let's come in. I haven't actually used the rusty hinge yet. I'm not sure, it might be a little dark. That's quite light in comparison to what I thought it was going to be, but it's obviously more of that kind of browny tone in there as well. But I just want the difference just to kind of show that the leaves are kind of changing. Then we've got a little bit of that wild honey in there as well. So let's just kind of blend those together nicely. And then I've got another piece here, so I'm going to do the same. I'm actually going to change the order in which I'm going to do this one. So we're going to start off again with that rusty hinge. Then I'm going to come in with that spiced marmalade. Then lastly I'm going to come in with that wild honey, because that wild honey is a lot more kind of yellow. I thought it was going to be a little bit darker. That's why I put it in the middle of our sort of first piece. And then I'm going to take my corner pieces and I'm just going to kind of position those where I want it to be. We'll do the same for this piece. So I just want to have that kind of rusty hinge more just at the bottom really. So I'm going to grab my plate. I'm just going to run that through my Gemini Mini. And then we can poke all those in bits out, and you just have that really lovely kind of variation of colour there. Of course you could colour this in sort of properly, so you could do the leaves and you could do it green and things with those little berries if you wanted to, but of course this is autumn themed and we're going to go with that yellow theme. So that's our first piece done. But again, we're just gonna pop that in and just run that through. And you can see you don't need much more than this. You've seen how well that came out of that dye. I didn't have to run it through a second time, and it just makes everything so much easier. As I've said before, than getting out my whole sort of big Gemini die cutting machine, literally just to die cut these two things. I could have done them both at the same time, but it still probably would have taken me just as long. But it takes up far less space on my desk. So what I think I might do, and just use a little bit of inspiration that they've got on the back. So they've actually double layered those pieces, and I really like that idea. And I think I'm going to do that then with my greens, because I do want to include more of a different tone, because obviously these are orange and sort of yellowy. My paper's orange and yellow, so I think it definitely needs to have kind of an extra colour in here. Okay, so we're going to die cut both of these actually at the same time now. So let's get these in the folder and we can feed this one through. So easy. Okay, so there we have our four corners, and what I'm going to do is alternate them. So I'm not going to put the same corner on top of each other because they are both slightly different, but I think that just looks so lovely then, having that green behind and that orange just on top. So there's our corners, they are done. So I'm going to be creating a A2 size card today. So I'm going to be matte and layering with those papers that I downloaded. So let's just get these cut down to the size that we want. Okay, so we've got our two pieces chopped down. So this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so the size of our card, and this is then 4 inch by 5 1/4. So I decided that I didn't want to have any of that white border showing. So we're gonna stick this down to begin with. So I'm gonna use my adhesive runner just for ease. So let's just add that straight onto our card. Okay, so I decided to trim this panel down again, just so we had a little bit more of that gingham showing through, because you couldn't really see that much with the sizes that I'd cut it. So I've actually cut this down again. So this piece now is 5 inch by 3 3/4 inch. And we're going to decorate this piece first of all. So let's make sure we've got all of our inside pieces cut from that. We're going to use a little bit of our liquid glue to stick this down, because it is quite delicate in some places, and I found then using this with this fine tip, I've been able to kind of glue a lot more things than what I had done previously before getting one of these. So if you're not 100% sure with the glue that you've got, definitely get one of these fine tips, because it really has made all of the difference for me personally. And then we're just going to pop one right up against each corner. So we're going to do the top right, and we're going to do then the bottom left. So I'm going to start off with my green pieces, and then we're going to add that piece just in there. So we've got those pieces, and then I'm going to make sure that I don't have the same pieces together. So this orange one is going to go down here. Okay, so there is our background. So we're going to make this into something, you know, quite simple. So I'm going to take the Thankful die, and I'm just going to do a little bit more ink blending with my greens, only because I didn't quite have enough spare to be able to just use what I had already ink blended. So I'm just going to take another scrap. I'm just going to do the same thing again with my greens. So you need to be careful not to kind of move this too much, where then you do kind of knock it out of place a little bit. What I'm going to do is just add it onto a pair of tweezers. Let's bring our piece back down. So I'm only just going to pop it down sort of letter by letter, so I can make sure I get it in the right spot. So there we have our Thankful on there. Let's add some foam tape just to the back of our panel, just to add a little bit of dimension onto here. So let's pop our panel onto our card base. So it definitely needs a few other bits on here. So I've just die cut that little pumpkin, and I'm actually going to colour these in with some alcohol markers, so with some of my Copic sketch. So I've kind of left that in the piece that I've die cut it from, because I just wanted to add a little difference in there from all of that Distress Oxide blending that we've done. So we're going to try and make this a little bit more sort of realistic. So we're going to go in with that darker shade. So the colours that I'm using, we have got YR 04, 07 and 09. So I'm going to do the darker bits in those centres, and just around it I'm going to add YR07. Then I can come back in with YR04 and just kind of blend that out a little bit and give it just a little bit of shape there. And then I've got 3 greens, so I've got YG 6, 7 and 9, and we're just gonna add that just to this top portion. So we've got a super cute little pumpkin just there, and we're gonna add that just on top of that kind of foliage at the bottom. And then just to finish this card off, we're going to add a few Nuvo drops. So I have got here, this is a metallic one, Auburn Pearl, and we have Olive Branch as well. Again, just kind of staying in that colour scheme. And we're just going to fill up a little bit of this kind of area around here with just some different sized dots. So kind of a couple of big ones. And then we just do a few sort of smaller ones just around there sort of nicely. So again, let's just tap them out just to flatten them really nicely. And then I think these olive ones, I'm gonna add just a few onto these sort of little berry branches, just to kind of add a little bit of sort of 3D element just on there. So let's do a couple more on this one, just because we've got that pumpkin sort of just there. So, you know, it is a little bit more on the simple side. We haven't really done sort of too much here, but I think this makes a really beautiful autumn themed card. So that is my finished card for today. Like I said, that is using then the Die Cutting Essentials Autumn Wishes die set. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. If you did check out my last video, you'll know that I'm running a competition at the moment, celebrating nearly reaching 2,000 YouTube subscribers. So check out my previous video to this one if you haven't already, to enter that competition, and that competition will be coming to an end on Wednesday. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. So that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.